This is a special presentation for the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Hey there, what is going on, you guys? Rick Ucchino here on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's interview with Raquel Rodriguez, one of the newest additions to Friday Night SmackDown. Before we dive right into that, got to do a couple of quick shout outs because this interview would not be possible if it was not for our friends over at Manscaped, the best in the business when it comes to men's below the waist grooming. Guys, you can join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, brought to you by Bleav in Pro Wrestling. You can save 20% all throughout the month of April and get free shipping. All you have to do is go to manscaped.com. Again, this is all month long, all April long. Use our promo code BLEAVPW to get started. That is BLEAVPW, BLEAVPW, written just like you see it on the screen. Go to manscaped.com, shop for whatever it is you want to get. Use our promo code, boom, 20% off and free shipping. The Performance Package 4.0, that has arrived, guys, and it is a major game changer. Inside this package, you're going to find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. All right, this bad boy, when I say game changer, trust me. All right, me personally, never had any problems with pulling, tugging, nicks, nothing. That's just me personally. This has been a gift from our friends over at Manscaped for helping us out here. Trust me, guys, you're going to want to get your hands on this. Also, the Weed Whacker ear and nose and hair trimmer, crop preserve, deodorant for downstairs. There is a lot that is in that package. So that's one thing that you're going to want to check out. Again, 20% off, free shipping. BLEAVPW at manscaped.com. That is lasting all throughout the month of April. Lots of good stuff over there. Again, make sure to check out manscaped.com. Also, real quick, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Bet Online, the #1 source for all of your sports betting needs and info for all the latest developments, updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and more. Go on over to Bet Online on their website or use their mobile device and use our promo code BLEAV. That is just simply BLEAV to get started. Over at Bet Online, receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. And it is now time to start with our interview with Raquel Rodriguez. All right, Raquel Rodriguez, it has been a whirlwind. It has to have been the last couple of weeks for you. You go from competing at Stand and Deliver, winning the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, then you drop them a couple of days later, and then before you know it, boom, you are on Friday Night SmackDown making your main roster debut. Have you had a chance to kind of just relax and take everything in here a little bit over what has transpired these last couple of weeks for you?
Of course not. No, everything is always go, 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 go. But, you know, the more that I sit here and I kind of hear it and think about it, I'm like, yeah, that all happened in 1 week.
Right.
I mean, you're kind of in this position sometimes and you're just traveling and shows and going every week. And you stop and you forget that what time actually is, or that it's actually, you know, it's only been a couple of days since this happened, or it's only been a couple of days since this happened. So it's crazy for me to comprehend and take this moment right now to understand that all of that happened in a week. You know, being reunited with Dakota, to then being in Stand and Deliver and being the opening show and winning the tag titles, to then dropping the tag titles, to then my debut on SmackDown, to then coming back and getting into the mindset of I'm no longer on a Tuesday, I'm a Friday night girl. Yeah. So now I'm slowly getting into, you know, the cycle and into the groove of being that Friday night girl everyone's been waiting for.
Yeah, Friday on Fox. So that's right. That's a huge upgrade, and we'll talk about that. You know, from the Tuesday night audience, I mean by that. But let's start with the elephant in the room here. All right, for the last few years, you have been known as Raquel Gonzalez, and now you are Raquel Rodriguez. How are you feeling about the change? How much of an adjustment is this going to be for you?
Honestly, I don't think it's going to be too much of an adjustment for me. I'm okay with the change, you know, and it's funny. I was just joking with Rhea last Friday because she was actually at SmackDown and her initials are RR, Rhea Ripley. And we've always joked about being a tag and we had our feud in NXT. Well, now my initials are RR, Raquel Rodriguez. So it kind of just feels like it was meant to be. So I'm okay with it. We're starting to think of new tag names. If you have any ideas, maybe like Rip Rod or Rod Rip. I don't know. Shit, her and Liv just broke up. I don't want to push it.
I was going to say, you've seen what happened the last two partners she was with. All right. So maybe that's not the direction.
I also have my trust issues as well, but we won't go into those.
Yes, obviously. How did you guys land on Rodriguez? Were there any other names that were in consideration?
No, there was, it kind of just like, they just basically said, hey, you're getting a name change and this is it. And I was like, cool, that's fine. I really had no big arguments with it at all. It was just a simple little switch, just like that.
Just like that. And you go from, like you said, it just kind of like that whirlwind, right? Of you were with Dakota. After not being with Dakota, you win the championships, and now boom, all of a sudden, here's everything that you have been working for over the last 5, nearly 6 years, and you're now there. You're a member of the SmackDown roster. What was that like when you found out that you were being moved up to SmackDown?
It was crazy. It was almost like a relief. I had just made my trip back from Texas, and I was just with my family all weekend. So already I was very emotional, not only getting to perform in front of them, but being able to like hang out with my niece. And I got to have a little slumber party with my niece. So it was a whole weekend just full of lots of emotions and happy emotions and love. And I was on my way back, and I get the call and they tell me about SmackDown. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And of course, the first thing I do is I call my dad. I call my dad and my mom, and I let them know, and they're just immediately start crying because they totally understand. Like you said, it's been 5 to 6 years for me since I've moved from Texas, the farthest away from my home state. And my family is so very, very close. Like I talk to my dad every day. So he's heard every struggle I've been going through, every doubt I've ever had. My dad has heard me cry in the mornings. He's heard me cry at night. And so, sorry, I'm getting emotional. No. I'm so emotional right now. But it's just, it was one of those moments where I was like, oh my God, I'm here. I'm like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. It's what I've worked for. This is what all the sacrifices are for. But I definitely took that moment and I squashed it right away, because I was like, this doesn't mean you made it. This doesn't mean that it's over. You know what I mean? Like, this is where the work begins. And this is where you really have to start hustling. And so everything that I've done in NXT, it has been beautiful. It has been great. And I'm carrying all of that with me. But I also know that I cannot just rest on everything I've done in NXT. There's so much for me to do and to prove at SmackDown. And that's exactly what I want to do every Friday night. I want to go out there and I want to prove to everyone that this is where I belong. This is what I was meant to do. I was meant to be a WWE superstar, and I was meant to be a SmackDown Women's Champion. And so I will show everyone that, no doubt.
Charlotte Flair, you're on notice. Did you know that did you have a feeling that this move was imminent, or did this kind of completely blindside you?
It didn't completely blindside me, just because I know that a lot of changes have been happening, not only on main roster, but down at NXT too. So I knew that changes for me and myself were coming up very soon as well. Whether I knew that was going to be SmackDown or whether it was going to be Raw, I had no clue. I really didn't know when it was going to happen. I didn't know how it was going to happen, if it was going to be a phone call or if it was just going to be like something that happens on TV, live. It was just, it did kind of blindside me, but at the same time, I had a feeling that a change was coming. I just didn't know what the change was.
Had to kind of be a little bittersweet, I would think, as well, because, everything happens so fast, right? You reconcile with Dakota, which to the mass joy of the NXT universe, you guys then stand and deliver. You have a great match with Toxic Attraction. You win the championships. I was there in the arena. I saw it happen. The crowd popped huge for it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, now that's done. That's over with. And now you're moving on to SmackDown. So, I mean, were you at least a little bit disappointed, or was it kind of just like a full circle? Hey, at least we got to put the bow on the whole saga between yourself and Dakota.
Yeah, I think it was a full circle for me, because I realized that time at Stand and Deliver too, that was only the second time I've ever performed in front of that many people and in an arena. The first time was my debut when Dakota and I decided to join forces, and that was in Portland in front of 3,000 plus people. And then right after that, we were off the road because of COVID and quarantine and everything that was happening. So I went from my first big, stadium appearance in Portland, Oregon, to 0 people in Orlando, Florida, to a couple hundred people in Orlando, Florida. And then to finally being back on the road again at Stand and Deliver in Dallas, Texas, my home state, in front of my family and my friends and my raza. And it was just really cool to have that moment with Dakota again, because I love her so much. She's such a beast when it comes to everything that she does. And she's just so creative and amazing. And it was just really fun to have that moment with her. And whether if it was for a couple hours like the first reign or 3 days like this past one, all I have to say is that we were the first ever and the first 2-time ever. So
there you go.
Goal met.
There you go. And you know what? We saw this past Friday, you were kind of outnumbered in the SmackDown women's locker room there a little bit. Who knows? Never say never down the line that there might be a reunion up on the Blue brand. Yeah. Possibility.
Yeah,
maybe.
You never know. But I would like to think also that I count as 2 people because of my height. So I'm not just, I'm never outnumbered unless there's 3.
Poor girl, you're definitely 2 Kayla Braxtons. I think that. I mean, that was such a visual on your first episode. I used to cover the NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals, locally here where I'm at, and I remember the first time I ever spoke to Andrew Whitworth, who just retired as a Super Bowl champion for the Rams. I swear to God, it was like straight up holding the microphone. So I've been in that situation where Kayla was. So that was such a great little visual there. What has been the biggest adjustment for you so far? Now going from NXT onto the main roster. We haven't seen you compete yet, which I know everybody is very anxious to see, but what's been that biggest adjustment? Is it possibly the travel situation here, because NXT doesn't go, town to town very often. So now you're out on the road with the main roster.
Yeah. And I feel like I've kind of just gone right into traveling like normal, like right before COVID. I feel like that hasn't really affected me as much as honestly missing my puppies. That's where it's gotten me. I've gone into the hotel rooms after SmackDown. I've just been so excited and stuff. And I've laid down in bed. I'm like, oh, I wish I had Pepe or I had Bella here to like just cuddle, but like, that's the separation that I'm sure we all get with our furry friends because they're just so loving. But the travel to me has been pretty easy. I feel like because I know a lot of the roster already too. And I've grown with them at NXT. I feel like finding friends isn't hard at SmackDown. I have people that I'm comfortable talking to and going up and sitting and having lunch with. And so it's all been a very smooth adjustment for me. Thank goodness. Yeah.
Triple H has been in the news, obviously a lot recently, and he's also been very, very hands-on with a lot of people who are down in NXT, obviously. After you got the call up to SmackDown, did you get a chance to kind of talk with him and, how integral was he in your development?
Yeah, him and Road Dogg and Shawn Michaels definitely had a big part to play when it came to who Raquel Rodriguez was in NXT. What my position was when I debuted with Dakota, what my position was going forward and through many transitions and even into my storyline with Io Shirai. So he definitely gave me a lot of confidence. All 3 of them really helped me a lot when it came to adjusting and changing and protecting myself and putting more aggression and more deliberation behind everything that I did so that it was, more, I can't think of a word for that, but just more deliberate, Yeah. So it's been a little bit hard at NXT not having Triple H there because that's all I've seen since I first started was him in his power chair and listening to him and hearing him talk. And he's such a good teacher to learn from. And so I actually saw him at Stand and Deliver. I was not ready. I was not ready at all. It was a crazy morning already because we had to be up so early and we had to be at the stadium at like 7 a.m. And then us as the openers, our match is on at 11:30. So we're rushing to get through rehearsals. We're rushing to get makeup and gear and hair and make sure everything's okay. And then as we're stretching and warming up and I'm trying to chug an energy drink so that I can wake up because it's still like 9 a.m, I kind of turned around feeling frazzled and I was like, oh my God, it's H. It's H. And I didn't really have anyone to yell at or to scream at, but in my head, this was me. I was like, is anyone else seeing this? No, okay. And so like I kind of walked up to him timidly and I just like put my arms out and he gave me a big hug and I was like, it's so good to see you. It's so good to have you here. It was just very calming type of sense. You know what I mean? After that moment, I was like, whew, Okay, it's been a crazy morning. I feel like it's been a whole day.
Yeah.
But we're going to do this and everything's going to be amazing. So it's really cool to see him there. I haven't had the opportunity to talk to him since I've gotten the call up because he's not at NXT as much, but I have gotten to talk to Sarah Amato, who has also played a big part in Raquel and helping me grow as a performer and as an athlete. And she's gave me the biggest hug yesterday as well and said she's very proud of me and very happy for me. And so I couldn't ask for better mentors and better people to be surrounded with here at the PC.
Yeah, we are out of time. Obviously, so bigger stages are ahead for you. Obviously, you're on Friday Night SmackDown now here on Fox. You got SummerSlam around the corner. You could be on the card. Tickets are on sale now for that as well. Just real quick for this larger audience that may not know who you are, talk to them specifically. Let them know just very, very quickly because the PR guy's going to yell at me here. Who is Raquel Rodriguez?
I am Raquel Rodriguez, and I am la más poderosa, la más peligrosa y la más chingona en todo WWE, which means I am going to be the most badass woman on Friday Night SmackDown. So make sure you tune in.
All right. Appreciate it. Looking forward to everything. Good luck, and we'll catch up down the road.
Thank you.